On to group subjects for this year. So I have 3 kids currently doing school. I have a 6th grader, a 3rd grader, and a kindergartner. So most of these group subjects were, so the big group subjects were done with my 6th grader and my 3rd grader. The morning group subjects were done, all 3 of them. So let's go into what we did. So let's see. Let's start with the ones I did with just the older 2. So this would be our main history curriculum. So for our main history this year, we went with The Good and the Beautiful's History Year 1. Let's see how to describe this. So the way this one works is you're meant to do all 4 years. So it jumps around in time instead of doing it by cycles. So instead, you jump to each cycle every year. So this year we spent time in ancient Egypt, we did the Middle Ages, and we did like the Revolutionary War time period and like the lead up to that. And then we spent a little bit of time at the end just wrapping up a little bit about modern history. There's not much in that. It really jumps around. Like we talked about the Victorian era. We talked a little bit about the Irish famine. We are about to talk about the history of flight and the space race. And we will talk at the very end of the year about like the Berlin Wall and the fall of communism. But we're not going to go very deep into any of those subjects. Most of our time was spent in those first 3 parts. And I liked this. My boys said that they really liked it. Some of the lessons were a little bit long sometimes considering how much I was like talking, but we really enjoyed the audio. They had like an audio story running throughout that we like listened to multiple times. So they really liked that. There were a lot of little like activities to do. They liked that. Lots of stories. So it comes with, so year 1 comes with a big book of stories. So you get lots of different stories. And they're colorful and they're fun. And at the end you get maps. So you have ancient Egypt that they are going to look at for different things. And then also just some images that you discuss as a group and that has like information about it. So I really loved this aspect of it. And another thing it comes with, obviously this part is optional, but we chose to get it, is this Keys of History game, which is very simple. You start playing it at the very beginning of the year before they know anything. And some people have complained, but actually my kids learned a lot through this game. So it just goes through all of the things you're going to talk about through this whole year. You just go around in the little game board is just a circle, and there are different ways to play. The way we basically play, we play it as kind of a cooperative effort is how it started. It's turned into a little bit more competitive, but whatever you land on, you pull the card and you get just a whole bunch of points, and you start reading and it gives blanks. And you're supposed to fill in the blanks. So as you go along, you learn throughout the year what's supposed to go in those blanks. And my boys actually really love this game. My kindergartner loves to play this game, and he can spout off all sorts of information about this. I don't know if he can tell it to you outside of like if I change the wording and don't give it to him in the sentence it's actually like on here. Like if I said, hey, what year did the Revolutionary War start? He probably can't tell you 1775. But if I read it in the sentence, he can probably pop in 1775. So I think differing maturity levels will retain different things. But they love it. I was surprised because it doesn't seem like that exciting of a game, but they get really excited when we play it. My kindergartner comes running. He always wants to play with us. My middle son, so my third grader, he loves it. He always wants to play all the way through till the end until we can answer every single question. So me and him played it the other day. Just like my older son dropped out. He had to do some other work. My kindergartner dropped out because he finally got bored. But my third grader stuck with it and wanted to go all the way to the end because we'd never done that. We usually set a timer and play for 20 minutes, or we say we'll play for 3 rounds, whatever it is. So they really love that, and we will probably continue to play that. And I do wish that they made this game for all the years. I know they make a different game to go with each year. What I wish they did is that I wish they had kind of expansion packs where you could get cards that coincided with every year, because even if I wasn't doing the history, I would totally continue to add, like, I would love to add on cards and, you know, ways to earn more cards. So I think that's something, the good and the beautiful, if you ever see this, that you should add, because my kids love this and they've learned a ton through it. And that's been our favorite part of this history program, I think, which is funny because I've heard a lot of people say they just didn't even like the game. But for us, that was like huge. They loved it. So we are not going to be using this history next year, but not because we didn't love it. It's just because they're revamping the history, and I didn't feel like continuing, since we've only done 1 year of this, I didn't feel like continuing and then having to make a change after like year 2 or even 3, and have like 1 or 2 years be different. So I figure we're gonna take a break from this. I'll tell you what we're doing in another video, and we might come back to the good and the beautiful history. We might not. While I really enjoyed it, I'm not so in love with it that I don't, that I can't imagine homeschooling without it. But it is a good program. It was good. We learned a lot. I learned a lot. The different explorers were definitely necessary. Let's see. My younger son, so the different explorers, the ages, the first one is 1st grade through 3rd grade, and then the next one is 4th grade through 6th, and then 7th through 9th. So my 6th grader did, in the beginning, he would do mostly the like 4th to 6th grade workbook, and I would pick out a couple things I wanted him to maybe read from the 7th to 9th grade Explorer, and by the end he was doing almost exclusively stuff from the 7th to 9th grade. I didn't feel like it was enough work. There was a lot of coloring pages. A lot of the stuff in the 4th to 6th is the same as it is in the 1st to 3rd. So for my 3rd grader, it was mostly a matter of, well, which of these 2 coloring pictures would you like? And then telling my 6th grader, yeah, no, a coloring page I don't think is quite enough for a 6th grader, and bumping him up. So I think for the Student Explorer packs, it's just going to be on a personal basis as to which ones you use. I did really like a lot of the things he did in the 7th grade level. They just added in, it was reading articles and pieces about people that maybe we didn't talk about in the main history curriculum, that we didn't have time for in there, but he needed to learn more about, gave him some more information. So I would usually look at it, and if it was something I felt like was like really important and really pertinent, I would have him read it. Sometimes I would have him read and then write me a summary. So we have a running document on our computer that is like his history summaries, where he just needed to write me 2 or 3 sentences about the person he learned about. So I did like this. I do feel like there is enough work. You could make it definitely hard enough for 7th and 8th grade. I haven't looked at the 10th through 12th grade things, so I can't speak to really the high school side of things. But for middle school, it's a good program, and you can definitely add to it if you feel like it needs more. For science, we stuck with the good and the beautiful. I just wanted to give it a try and see where it went. So we did 4 of their unit studies. I only have 2 to show you here because I can't find my 2 from the first semester. We started with ecosystems. I started with it. I felt like it would be a good kind of laying some sort of foundation before we just started jumping into what they chose. I let them choose a lot of what they wanted to do this year, and I knew that would be very animal centric. So the choice was between kingdoms and classifications versus ecosystems, and I went with ecosystems because it just seems a little more interesting. And it was. It's not, that one is not a very hands-on thing. I don't think there were any like experiments or anything like that. It is only 9 lessons, so it was nice and short. It was kind of like a good warm-up. It had some fun little games, and I do think that they did learn from it. From there, we jumped into marine biology. Marine biology was really fun. It definitely gave us a little more information than a 3rd grader might actually need for marine biology. But my kids absolutely love, dolphins and whales and sharks and all of that. So they had a lot of fun. I think especially our favorite lesson was when we went out with a tape measure on our road and we drew out how big different whales were so that we could kind of like see the scope of like a blue whale versus I think it went down to a bottle, they had a bottlenose dolphin and all of these different ones. So they really loved that. They also really loved, there's an experiment that shows how blubber keeps you like warm, or helps to keep them like insulated, like how it works, and using like shortening, and you put your hands in like ice water. They really loved that one and found out my kids can keep their hands in ice water for a really long time and they have a lot of willpower. But they thought that one was super cool. So we liked that one. That one is a free download, which is part of the reason we went ahead and did it. It's also part of the reason I don't have anything here because we did a lot of it on the computer. To supplement for that, one of the things we did is I had a how to draw ocean animals like book, and every day we did science. We would pick a new animal and we would draw it and then color in. We used it kind of as an art inspiration as well, and they really, really loved doing that. So after Christmas, we did 2 of their new ones. They're 2 new updated things. And these were great. These are definitely better than the older ones. I really, really enjoyed these. This one was my favorite. We did reptiles, amphibians, and fish. There were all sorts of fun, little simple hands-on experiments to do. My 3rd grader absolutely loves snakes and lizards and all stuff like that. So we loved learning about them. We loved learning about axolotls. They are our family's like favorite animal as like a whole. We think they're so cool. And we did know about them before we studied, so we were excited to study them. But this one was just super colorful and fun with lots to do. I didn't even know what a Sicilian was. Anyways, so we absolutely loved the reptiles, amphibians, and fish. That was my favorite. I don't know if it was my boy's favorite. I don't know. I think it was, though. We all really liked this one. And then the one we are currently doing, we are a little over halfway through. We are working through birds. This one is also really fun and has given us we've had lots of activities to do to get us up, get us moving, learning how different birds differ from each other. It's been really interesting. It's been fun because this is, it's springtime, and I purposely saved this for springtime. My mom just hatched a bunch of baby chicks, so we got to see some of the new baby chicks just as they came out and talk about why they were wet, and it was right after we learned about how they grow in eggs. We got to candle the eggs and see the little embryos moving around inside and the veins on the outside. That was really cool. And they actually understood it instead of just being oh, okay. They kind of understood what was going on. So that was really fun. This one has really gorgeous pictures in it. I have a lot of them hung up on our science wall. I'm trying to find some for you, but that's not a good one. A lot of full page pictures to show how the different birds look. And lots of activities to do. So we're really enjoying this one so far as well. Now, is this enough for a middle schooler? For a 6th grader, I think yes. This year for my 6th grader was kind of all about him getting used to having kind of more subjects than his brothers, because he had a couple of electives to add in. And so I didn't necessarily want his history and his science to suddenly get like incredibly hard. I wanted to just take a step forward, and this was a really good step. So for him, I did have him do the 7th to 8th grade extensions. Starting with ecosystems, I only had him do 1 or 2. And moving into marine biology, same thing. I only had him do a couple that looked really interesting, a few more. After Christmas, I started requiring him to do all of them. So he did all of the 7th to 8th grade extensions for reptiles and for birds. And he just knows now that he has an extra science assignment. Okay, a couple other things really quick that we did together. We did an impromptu United States geography program. For my oldest son's language arts, he was supposed to be going over these, where are they? Geography cards to learn the states and then learn the capitals. And before he started level 5, we were actually working on learning all the states anyways. We were, working with maps. We memorized the states in alphabetical order. And so instead of giving him these cards for his language arts, I pulled out all the United States geography, and we've just been going through that together. And they have learned. My kindergartner can give you all the states and find many of them on a map. Not all of them, but a lot of them. My older boys can find all of the states on a map now, for the most part, and know almost all the capitals. And so I'm really happy with where that's gone. Along with just doing these flashcards and some map work, we like to play, we found this game Borderline, where you have to lay down, like there's a state down, and you have to be able to lay down a card that borders that state. And you can try to bluff your way if you don't have one that borders it, but maybe you have one that's close. So this has been really good, but now it's gotten to the point that no one can bluff because they know their states too well. So we can't figure out how to win the game, because last time we played it, we were playing for like an hour and a half and no one was anywhere near winning. So we haven't figured out how you actually win the game, because it just doesn't seem to work. We also have this game, Name That State, where you flick it. It's a spinner, and it gives you a number, and that number is a state, and you have to name that state. Right now, I let them, and then they can move like a certain number of places. Right now, if they can name the capital, I let them move an extra space if they want to. Depending on where they land, they can choose to move one extra space. Eventually, I'll make it so they have to know the capital. There are also fact cards that they read that give them little facts about the state. So that's been really good. And the only other thing that we do as a group is while they are doing handwriting in the morning, and I've only done this the second half of the year, is I've started reading to them the story of the world, because I kind of wanted them to see how, what was going on at the same time, because I wasn't totally in love with jumping time periods. I really like going through chronologically, and so this gave me the ability to go through chronologically to remind them, okay, yes, this is what we read about in Egypt. Currently in our Bible together, we are reading in the Old Testament. We are actually in the story of Moses, and just reading through what they've done. So we're reading it as a story. So we are almost through with it. We started it in January. I love this. I think it's great. There's part of me that wants to use this as our curriculum, and part of me saying maybe we will. I don't know. But I'm really liking this, and I'm thinking I will at least continue reading the next book to them next year, kind of in this offhand way. And I think that's everything that we did as a group, other than some memorization. They memorized part of the Declaration of Independence, they memorized the states, and they memorized the books in the Old Testament in order. That one they're still working on. And for the last 6 weeks, we are going to work on something else I haven't quite decided yet. So those are our group subjects, and most of them were wins, even though a lot of them we aren't necessarily using again next year. So I hope your year has gone as well as mine has. Bye!